Hi everybody, this is Zeri, Persian pen name on AO3, here to read you some stories. What's been going on this week? Not a lot. I'm restarting that podfic project that I talked about. I joined a server for learning how to podfic. I mean, it's about podficking in general, but there are parts about, sort of, hey, we don't know how to do it. So, I'll be doing that, and I did order me just today a new microphone, so if the audio changes in a week or two, then you'll know, hey, that's what's going on. I'm a little over halfway done with the last sleeve of my sweater. I keep it rolled up because it gets in the way otherwise, but yeah. I've only got like 2.5 more stripe units to go, like blue stripe, blue, green, purple, orange, that's one stripe unit, and I'm just starting the green on this one. So that one and then 2 more, and that'll be it. I got an ointment for my face so it is less red. I don't know if that picks up on camera or not, but that's a thing. Let's see what else. I've just been working a lot this week. There were 5 mariachi bands at the hotel this week, so we were sold out, and it was very loud. Like, they were all talented kids. They were doing great. It was some competition or something. But also there were 5 mariachi bands, and they were school groups, so it was just a bunch of teenage band kids, and if you have ever been a teenage band kid, shenanigans. Shenanigans were definitely happening. But yeah, so lots of tiredness, basically. Oh, I'm working on blocking my... I'm in the process of building a blocking frame for a shawl that I knit several years ago from some yarn that I also dyed several years ago. I had done the dyeing in like just a big old plastic tub, right? And I had these 2 fairly good-sized hanks of this lace weight alpaca stick chick on Etsy. I recommend it. It's very good. But we have black walnut trees, so I just tossed a bunch of the walnut hulls in there and a bunch of water and let it get all fermented and gross. Just sitting out on the driveway for, a week or so. And then I tossed in one of my 2 big hanks. I was like, okay, yeah, that'll be enough for the shawl. And it would have, by the way. But then I was like, oh no, but what if it's not? So I tossed the other one in, but there was a couple days of difference. And I didn't think it was going to make that big of a difference color-wise. And under certain lighting, you can't tell, but, which is... At the time, I was working overnights, and the lighting at work is very fluorescent and not great. I couldn't tell the difference in that lighting, and so I would just work away at it, not really paying attention to which hank I was pulling from, because there's a lot of... Yeah, so color differences in the shawl, don't like it. So I ordered some. I kept thinking every year, oh, I'll just go and get more of the hulls, and I'll make another batch, and I'll re-dye it, and then I'll block it out, and then I never did. And so this year I was like, well, I'm just gonna order some walnut hulls online, because during the fall, which is when you can get them, it's when walnut hulls are around, I'm busy, I'm doing things. That's one of the busier times of the year at work. Like, the whole summer is busy. I work in a tourist area, and it doesn't really stop until it starts getting cold, uh, which it doesn't do for very long in Texas. So it's about to start getting busy again. Like, it's March, spring break is coming up. We're gonna have people. Um, but so I ordered more of the walnut hulls, and I'm gonna just get a big old tub and make another batch and let it chill on the driveway and add a lot of water so that the dye stuff can really move around in there. And then I've got these 4 10-foot lengths of PVC and a bunch of connectors. I'm going to cut them down probably to 8 foot. Like, the shawl in theory is 6 by 6, but there's a fair bit of give on that, and I don't know. 8 foot seems good. I can still fit it inside the house, I think. Yeah, probably. Yeah. And I'll just, I'll have basically a big PVC square, and I'll thread some string around the frame and through the shawl, just all around the edges. It's got points on the edge, so that works fine. And you let it be wet, and you stretch the shit out of it, and let it dry that way, and that's what blocking is. And it makes all the holes really expand and stay that way and dry into shape, and it really makes it look good, and it's going to be gorgeous, and I'm very proud of it. It's not it's not my biggest project. That's definitely this blanket back here. It's the most intricate lace I've done so far that I've finished. It was less than 5,000 yards, but I couldn't tell you by how much. But I knit it on size 0 needles, which are, I want to say, 2 millimeter? 2 millimeter thick? Like, thinner than this. I don't know if y'all can see. It's not... We'll do the makeup. Well, maybe this is a 0. Yeah, alright, so around as thick as this. This might be one of my 0s. I don't know. I used to color code my needles, and then I stopped caring so much and just got a bunch of needles. So, the sweater, for comparison's sake, is done on 6s. The purple sweater was on 4s. I usually just work in the even sizes, because there's not a huge amount of difference between any given size, and if you are missing a needle, like if you're short one needle for what you need to do, you can use a size bigger or smaller. Probably smaller would be a better idea. And then just kind of adjust how you hold it. Your hands know what they're doing, is what I'm saying. Not to quote Elizabeth Zimmerman on Maine, but she is my life goal, my life model. Did I already talk about the Podfix? I think I did. I've restarted this video like 3 times because the first time I didn't have it situated well, and the second time I accidentally said my spouse's name out loud on video, and he's not into that. So I'm trying to be, respectful and not do that thing. So, fuck, we're already 9 minutes in and I ain't said shit about fuck. Alright, so this is going to be my 13th video of this. I was really going to try and find a spooky one to read, because 13, that's nice, but then I realized I didn't want to, and so here we are. I could probably have found one, but I did not. So for this one, though, we're going to read something by Quefish. If you haven't seen Drunk Storytime with Quefish, I highly recommend it. Pretty sure I'm pretty sure they use that. She reads great stories, was a huge inspiration to me in starting this channel. Like, I can't drink because it messes with my meds, so I'm not going to do Drunk Storytime, but I'm just doing regular story time. So, this is my first one of hers that I'll have read. Alright. This is a mature story. It's called Existential Massage Musings by Quefish. It's Good Omens. The tags are internal monologue, soft Aziraphale. Aziraphale is overweight, mood. Massage, awareness and admitting kinks. No actual kink usage. No sexual situations, no sex. It's actually a decently innocent fic. Crack treated seriously. The writer should be embarrassed. No, you should not. And they are. Don't do it. I don't know, please don't judge me. I'm not gonna judge you, I love you. Plugging other fics can be read as human, but that's up to you. Notes are, for real, this is ridiculous. Summary. Aziraphale experiences the ordeal and confusion of a massage making him think of his kinks. This is going to be fun. I really like Quefish's work. Right. Hello? Yes, speaking. Oh, well, of course, I understand completely. The same time would be preferable if you have anything available. Male is preferred. All right, thank you very much. Aziraphale hung up the phone with a sigh. It had taken years to muster up the courage to get a massage. He wasn't svelte. He was overweight and soft, and not at all confident for someone to see him in a state of undress. But he was in his early 40s, and since he lived above the shop he owned, he led a rather sedentary life. So whenever he did want to enjoy something more active, he was left aching. On top of that, he was rather touch-starved. He didn't have a partner, hadn't in many years, and while he did have friends, they weren't very touchy-feely. He was sure that any one of them would have been happy to hug him, but he felt awkward asking since that wasn't something that they did naturally. So after much inner turmoil, he found a massage spa. He'd been thrilled the first time he went in. The gentleman his appointment was with was the same size and shape he was, and he'd been made to feel very comfortable. At the end of the session, he'd felt so much better, he'd signed up for a contract and booked his next session with the same gent. Aziraphale had never had a single complaint about Matthew, and saw him regularly for almost 2 years. That now had to change. Matthew had moved and was no longer with the spa. Aziraphale had half a mind to cancel, but he'd been so looking forward to the massage. He'd had a run of terrible news and luck, and was bordering on desperate for the relaxation and comfort that the massage would bring. He only hoped that the new masseuse would bring him the same level of comfort as Matthew had. He stepped into the spa and was shown to a small lounge to wait until his masseuse was ready. His knee was bouncing with nerves. He was mentally exhausted, having been dealt yet another emotional blow within the last few days. A petty one, but one that hurt nonetheless. One of the most emotional songs he knew had played on the radio on the way over in the rideshare, and he'd fought tears the entire ride. And on top of that, he'd wrenched his shoulder that morning while reaching to a higher shelf. A man came to the doorway, and in a thick Eastern European accent called out, "Aziraphale." "Ah, yes, it's Aziraphale." He stood and went to the door. The man was shorter than he looked, but what struck Aziraphale almost immediately was his face. Aziraphale wasn't much for modern cinema, but who didn't like the old black-and-white horror films? The man in front of him looked like every wise village elder warning the newcomer away from the castle on the hill from every Dracula movie ever filmed. The accent definitely contributed to it as well. "Ah, all right, sorry." The man led him to a small room and turned down the thick sheet on the warm table. He turned and smiled. "You have pain today. Problems?" Aziraphale indicated his shoulder and made a comment about it. The masseuse took hold of his arm and started to move it. Aziraphale started to help move his arm, and the masseuse stopped him. "No, bad boy." Aziraphale froze, and he was stunned to feel his eyes tear up. The man looked at him and cocked his head before nodding knowingly. "You be good boy for me. If I want you moved, I move you, yes?" Aziraphale nodded at him, embarrassed when a tear actually fell. The masseuse nodded again. "Good. I'll go out here, you put clothes there and lie down. Aziraphale waited until the door closed and blinked the tears out of his eyes as he began to get undressed. He was less dressed than usual to begin with, only wearing trousers, boxer briefs, a shirt, and a vest. He wiped his eyes on the vest and folded everything onto the chair, keeping his pants on as he came to terms with the possibility that the masseuse, whose name he didn't even know, had sussed out in roughly 30 seconds that he was naturally submissive and reacted rather strongly to praise and correction. He sighed and got onto the table. The masseuse came back, and only the standard lack of conversation happened, in the form of asking about the pressure and comfort. Aziraphale allowed his mind to wander and relax as the man worked. After a while, he was asked to roll onto his back, and the massage continued. The masseuse went to lift his leg, and Aziraphale forgot himself for a moment. His instinct, being heavy, to lift with the masseuse. He felt 2 firm taps to his thigh. What I said to you? Aziraphale relaxed his leg again, going lax in the masseuse's hands. Yes, very good boy. Aziraphale got a small tingle over his scalp at the man's words. He was not used to being given any sort of praise. He'd tried to get former partners to understand and participate in a more intimate way, but the requests were always given a side-eye and ignored. This had nothing to do with that kind of situation, of course, but it was still nice. He was so relaxed that when the masseuse went to his other leg, he tried to move with him again. A single firm tap had him going lax again. There's my good boy, see? Fast learner. Aziraphale's head lolled to the side, and his mind floated as the massage continued and came to an end. I be right back. You get dressed and come out. Aziraphale dressed slowly, more relaxed than he'd felt in a very long time. He left, and the masseuse was outside with a bottle of water for him. He thanked him and went to the receptionist to book his next massage. On the rideshare heading home, he checked his phone. His friend had contacted him, and he texted back, "You will never believe the massage I just had." He then regaled Crowley with the story, apologizing for the TMI of sharing his praise kink, before the conversation shifted to better gossip. "Yes, please, the same as my last massage. 90 minutes on Wednesday would be perfect." "Of course, thank you." "Hello, Mr. Fell. Pietrits will be with you shortly if you'd like to wait in the lounge." Aziraphale had only a couple of minutes to wait before the door opened and the masseuse collected him. As he came closer, the man smiled. I remember you. Come with me." Aziraphale could feel the tips of his ears burning slightly as he followed the man to the smaller room. Pietrits asked if there was anything specific and how he'd felt since last time, and Aziraphale answered that he'd been fine, and Pietrits left the room for him to disrobe. He stripped to his boxer briefs again and laid on the table to wait for Pietrits. The door opened, the lights were dimmed, and the table was lowered slightly as Pietrits asked after Aziraphale's comfort. Aziraphale reassured him as he wiggled his fingers. Being wider than usual, his arms hung off the sides of the table, and he always checked his circulation. That's good and smart. Pietrits began the massage, and Aziraphale started to melt into the table as his back was worked. After his back, Pietrits moved to Aziraphale's shoulder and arm, lifting and bending, and Aziraphale huffed a small laugh as he was told, "Very good," when he allowed his muscles to remain completely lax. Then something took him by surprise. As he was pulled, rubbed, and stretched, Pietrits turned his shoulder to get to his tricep, holding his wrist against his lower back, pinning him. His eyes flew open as a small whimper escaped him, and Pietrits smiled. "Hurt?" No, I'm fine." Aziraphale waited and heard a quiet, good. Pietrits resumed the massage, and Aziraphale let out a small sigh of relief. Pietrits then laid his arm next to his body, which started to slide off. He heard another and then the sheet was loosely wrapped around his lower arm and tucked under his hip to keep his arms in place, as Pietrits worked on the arm with both hands. Of all the kinks he thought would be exposed during a massage, being pinned and bound wasn't on the list. Once his arm was done, Pietrus released his arm and gently brought his arm back to dangle off the side. He endured the same on the other side of his body and took a deep breath as his other arm was released and allowed off the side of the table. Aziraphale listened to the normal sounds of a hot towel being taken out. After the towel was laid on his back, he heard another sound he didn't recognize and tried to figure it out. It sounded like something pulled out of a box top, like tissues? He relaxed into the heat of the towel when he heard something quite distinct. The sound of gloves being put on. That was new, and he had to force himself to relax. Was Pietrus trying to break him? Was there a checklist of kinks to test? He'd only ever told one person about that one, and he was all but laughed at before it was refused and told that it wouldn't be spoken of again. He was trying to figure out why Pietrus would need gloves, and could only think of the towel. The towel was removed, and Aziraphale was then treated to the feeling of soft vinyl gloves. Everywhere the gloves touched bloomed in goosebumps. He wasn't aroused. There was nothing sexual in his thoughts at all. It was a matter of being aware that there were many things present and happening that in the proper situation would be arousing. He tried to clear his mind and think about different things he was reading at the moment. Aziraphale was always in the middle of at least 4 books, and now was no different. He thought of the story about the shut-in who hired personal chefs to deal with his many allergies, firing all but one, who he ended up falling in love with. The one about societal expectations of secondary characteristics, and the 2 who don't care about those and make their own way. There was a story he'd started about a medieval peasant transgender woman, who was an unexpected combination that he was finding fascinating. He was enjoying a story about a high-end escort and shy bookseller who had come together after knowing each other in uni, which was utterly lovely. A bizarre yet highly enjoyable novel about parallel universes and finding one's counterpart for shenanigans. He was also enjoying a story about an angel and demon stationed on Earth and pining for each other throughout time. These would be those fanfic recs. I recognize at least some of them. As Aziraphale thought over all of the stories, he knew he was absolutely going to have to tell Crowley about this somehow. Pietrus had finished his legs and was working on the sides of his ribs. Matthew had avoided his sides, so this was new and quite enjoyable if he was honest. Once done, Pietrus held up the sheet and Aziraphale shimmied carefully onto his back. He brought his hands over his stomach, leaving them dangling over the edge while his back was very uncomfortable. He brought his hands over his stomach, leaving them dangling over the edge while on his back was very uncomfortable. Pietrus directed him into deep breaths, once again calling him a good boy, and he let a small smile curl his lip as he breathed. Then the massage continued. The soft vinyl still gave him patches of goosebumps, and his scalp tingled. His legs were done, and Pietrus moved to his sides, swinging a small rolling chair to sit on. His arm and his side was massaged, and while Pietrus didn't massage Aziraphale's chest, his hands grazed just past the underside of where his chest was more plush than a fit man's would be. He once again got small tingles, and then once again when Pietrus moved to the other side. Pietrus moved his hand and removed his gloves, tossing them in the bin. He then bent and turned Aziraphale's neck. Then his fingers moved to Aziraphale's ears and jaw, and tipped his head back to massage his neck and throat. Aziraphale's breath hitched, and once again was aware of his kinks being out of place. The one area that Matthew hadn't massaged that Aziraphale would have preferred he did, but always felt awkward asking, was his head. He was sure that most masseurs probably avoided the head in order to keep the oils out of clients' hair. It wouldn't have bothered Aziraphale, since the first thing he always did after his massage was go home and shower, specifically to get all the oils off. Aziraphale nearly purred when Pietrus's fingers delved into his curls. Pressing against his scalp, small scratches, and Aziraphale felt Pietrus's fingers go a bit lighter. The massage was coming to an end, and Aziraphale took a deep, relaxing breath. Pietrus gave gentle pulls to his hair as he finished massaging his scalp, and Aziraphale mentally upped his accidental kinks list again. Then Pietrus's hand disappeared, And Aziraphale blinked as the lights came up slightly. All good, yes? Pietrus stood at the door, his hands folded in front of him. Yes, wonderful, thank you. Very good. You get dressed. I am outside. Aziraphale sat up and took a moment before sliding off the table and getting dressed. He was laughing to himself that he'd just survived the kink challenge, and he would definitely be telling Crowley about this. It was too bizarre. He still wasn't aroused at all. He was just aware of his preferences. He opened the door, and Pietrus was there with a bottle of water. You need a loo? No, thank you. Okay. You drink lots of water. Good after a massage. They walked to the door leading to reception, and Pietrus opened it, wishing him a good day, which Aziraphale returned. He checked out and went outside to go home. He decided that he was going to have to write about this and post it. He did write and post stories on occasion. This would be no different. It was sure to not be popular or get many hits at all, but as long as he changed all of the names involved, at least no one would realize it was him, right? The end. Alright, so the fics described in order of mentioned. Recipe for Romance by Rengovar82. I have not read that one yet. Seared into Skin by Vagabond. Read it. Droit du Seigneur by Quefish. Read it. The Boyfriend Experience by Cademan. Read it. The Trouble with Being a Demon by Verdant Vulpes. Read it. Long is the Way and Hard by Kate_Lear. Haven't read that one, but I'll have to check it. The notes are, I suggest we stack the bodies in the cellar, lock it, leave quietly one at a time, and pretend that none of this ever happened. I'll leave first if you don't mind. But leave a kudos and a comment. So, Quefish, I know it was you. I really enjoyed this one. God, I haven't gotten a massage in 10, 15 years? Something like that. I don't know. Long ass time. I will admit, I have been looking to get a tattoo, and I have a fear of something similar happening. I read that Tumblr post of someone getting a tattoo and the person says good girl, and I was like, oh no. Especially since the tattoo artists I've been looking at, real cute. And I am easily flustered. It is not difficult. So, like, I don't know, there's probably not, like, a polite, socially acceptable way to go, hi, I'm a needy sub, and if you tell me that I'm doing well, this tattoo might get real awkward real quick. Not necessarily unpleasant, but probably awkward for you. That can't be the only, like, that has to happen, at least sometimes. But yeah, so, hey, it's TMI Wednesday. But also, now I really want a massage, so thanks for that. Alright. Oh god, my hair is nuts. I just switched back to the camera view. This is, alright. This is what you get. This ain't, the Zeres being put together show. Oh, also, I'm wearing my cream cheese shirt, which I also first saw on Drunk Storytime with Quefish, and I was like, I must find this, I must get it. Art, of course, by Cleopatra. Their stuff is amazing. I have I have some prints of theirs that I need to hang up. Pardon. But in order to hang up, I gotta finish painting. And in order to finish painting, I gotta do some cleaning. And in order to do some cleaning, I have to be not tired and have energy. So, it's been a while. Alright. So anyway, that's this week. I really enjoyed the story. I hope you also enjoyed the story. Go read things by Quefish. Go check out their... I'm not going to link their YouTube channel here, but... because I don't know if they want that. But it's on their AO3. They've got Drunk Story Time with Quefish there, so it's good videos. It's good times. But that's it for this week. Have fun, be safe, be good, cause good trouble. Yeah, that's all I got.